So there's a question here which I want to answer, which is from Stuart. Thanks, Stuart, for asking that. You've said, what is the best way forward to extend stay in the UK if one has not received a curtailment letter from the Home Office and their visa has expired, apart from seeking extension to stay in the form FLRHRO? Is it in one's best interest to request the curtailment letter from the Home Office themselves, then later apply for an extension when they are nearing the exhaustion of the days granted in the curtailment letter, so as to have no longer time frame to sort themselves out? Stuart, thank you for that question. And we had another question which was similar, which is, hi Rumbi, please, I need your help. Ndiripa 1-year visa and it's about and sat ndamboenda kubasa company and hours. My question is, tinopiwa ma 60 days here kana visa ra expire. It's expiring on the 14th of January. So let me just explain this in the simplest of ways. So you know, when you have a visa re 1 year and say it's expiring on the 5th of November 2023, your visa expires on the 5th of November 2023. You don't need to have the curtailment letter. So the curtailment letter is only the 60 days. It's only if you have time on your visa. So the regulations, it's clear, Kuti, if you are on a 5-year visa, right, and it expires 2028, then you're given the curtailment letter with the 60 date of your visa expiring. If the date of your visa is right, it's expired, you don't need a curtailment letter. So you will never get the curtailment letter because your visa has already expired. So the purpose of filling in the form, the FLRHRO, is so that your leave to remain continues to run. There's a rule in on the rule, and that rule means, Kuti, your leave to remain, it continues to run. Like if you submit an in-time application, a valid application, you then continue to have the right to stay. So whilst it's there, you can vary it if you get a switch or if your situation changes. But it's most likely that your application on FLRHRO, just to buy you time, can be refused, because if you don't have another valid application where you meet the requirements of the rules. But what that application does, it keeps you legal so that you can vary it and get, if you are able to get another employer, a switch, if you get married to someone, if you find another way of staying. So the curtailment letter will only come kune vanhu vane time pa visa ravo. But if your visa is already expiring, it's already expired. So I've found recently that there's a number of people vakauya pama 1-year visas, right? And those 1-year visas have expired. The employer didn't have a new COS for you, and they don't have to give you a new COS. They don't have to renew it after 1 year. They don't have to, because maybe even my requirements are ekubasa, they don't need you anymore. So if the employer doesn't need your services anymore, or they feel that they don't particularly want to extend your work permit, then they don't have to your visa. So one thing that's so important to understand is this skilled worker visa or health and care visa. It's a temporary visa. It's not a visa that gives you the right to stay in this country forever. It gives you the permission to work in this country. It gives you the permission to fill a skills shortage. You are filling a shortage. There's a person that's needed to carry out a task, and you're filling that shortage for a period of time, right? So what it means is that when that period of time or that role is no longer required, then either you find another job in any sector, or you find another route yekugara muno, or you go back to your country. So where you've overstayed, where your visa has expired and you haven't switched, you then become an overstayer. And you become a person who has no right to remain in the country. That's why it's so important not to allow that to happen. So if you're able to make an application so that you buy yourself some time, that's better, because at least you're now not an illegal immigrant. Because when you no longer have a right to remain in this country because you're an overstayer, it means you don't have a right to rent, you don't have a right to work, you don't have that right to even get secondary health care. It limits what you're allowed to do in the country. It limits your rights, and you don't even have a right to live here. So it would then affect you in so many different ways. So it's important to make sure that before your visa expires, that date of expiry is a critical date. If it does, you know, you've got options. Sometimes the option is going back and then reapplying from there. But I know a lot of people don't like to hear that at all. But it's then looking for advice and seeing what options you have. There's some people who actually have got other ways that they can stay. Some have got spouses who are also on, or skilled workers. Some have got spouses who are British. Some have met somebody when they're here. They've gone on dating sites and they want to get married. So you can change. There's so many different options that are available to you. And you can then utilize those options. There's some people who've got children who are British citizens because the father of that child has got indefinite leave to remain, or the father has got a British passport, or some have got my refugee. So there's each person anengane situation yake oiri unique, different. Again, it's not copy and paste, but there's different routes that you can follow. And I think I did do a video specifically on my options that are available. But so Stuart, to answer your question, there's no curtailment letter that's coming if the visa has already expired. It's expired. So you need to urgently get some advice and see what you can do around that, if it's for you or for a friend. So that's really, really important. And I know that there's been a lot of press statements about people getting exploited in this sector, and there's so much news about the report that was made by Unseen, etc. And there's labor abuse, and people are not getting hours, and there's a lot of issues that are going on in the sector. And when I speak to individuals, I always say, let's prioritize what we want, what we need. And what we need, number one, is always a switch. We always need to get a job so that we can guarantee our temporary right to remain in this country. So our main aim is to stay on the right side of the law, and as an individual yourself, and to be able to know that you can extend your visa and you can stay. So choose kuti apa priority yangu, which battle am I going to fight first, right? Yeah. So you as an individual, your first battle to fight is to get a switch. If your sponsor's license has been revoked, if your sponsor's license has been revoked, if there's no hours and no work, then it's so important for you to be able to get a switch so that you can secure your immigration status. And then, of course, you have your legal rights to pursue whatever is yours. No one takes that away. But you've got to protect your right to remain in this country. Because there's nothing... I wouldn't want anyone who came here legally with a proper visa to end up being an overstayer. It's very, very, very painful. And it's something that is very difficult. And you know, when they talk about the hostile immigration environment, the legislation in this country is made in a way to make life very difficult, because they want people to go back to their countries of origin. If you're not working, then the government doesn't want you to be here. So if you're not working, why they don't want you here? They want you to go back to your own country. So you have to make sure that your reason why you're here, that you're supposed to be, is continued on. So it's so important to put a lot of effort into ensuring that you have got a job and your visa remains valid. I cannot stress that enough. I remember speaking to a lady yesterday, and I said to her, I said, can I talk about this on live? And she said, yeah, you can, because we talked about it. She said, can I report a company that brought me here? She lost contracts and we're getting paid less, and I want to whistleblow. And I'm looking for a switch button. I want to whistleblow. So I said, you know, if somebody has lost their contracts, so we're not talking about somebody who never had contracts in the first place. We're talking about somebody who lost hours, or they lost contracts for whatever reason. That in itself is not anything that they're doing that's wrong. The fact that maybe if they continue to employ people when they've got no work for them, then that is a problem, isn't it? But that's a story for another day. But what I said is the most important thing for you is to ensure that you, before you run to go and do this whistleblowing, what will happen when you do that is the Home Office will suspend the license, or they'll come and visit, or they will take action. But it will most likely lead to that company getting their license revoked. And when a license is revoked, what happens is the employer is stopped from recruiting foreign nationals, but they're given a 12-month period. After 12 months, they can apply again. But they're not stopped from recruiting other people. So they can still employ people who have got indefinite leave, who are students, who can work 20 hours. They can still recruit lots of other people. And their business can carry on, actually. But you are the one who's going to be given 60 days to find another sponsor. And everybody else. So when you're reporting, it's wisdom sometimes in life, you know. Okay, what good will that do you now? Right? What good will it do? If somebody has lost their hours, if they came for advice from me and they're saying, you know what, I took 20 people and I've lost all these contracts, so I don't have hours to give these people, I would say, you know what you're supposed to do is to let the people go immediately, because you can't pay them. So you do have to let them go. But some people will be keeping people on. I don't want them to lose their visas. So that's to some people, isn't it? But the impact on everyone is not good. So the right thing is to cut people loose and let them find an employer who has got sufficient hours, who hasn't lost their contracts. So Mberuko, where we're going, I see so much like there's going to be a lot of people who may end up without status because the licenses are getting revoked at an alarming pace, and there's investigations going on. There's so much that's going on, and that makes the whole scheme so unstable. And the person, Inina, I've got a real focus on migrants. Kuti, how does that affect you? You've come all this way and you really don't want to be going back where you've come from, because there's a reason why you've come here. But if we then get another pool of people who are going to end up illegal with children, with families, it's going to cause chaos for the government and everyone it's just crazy. So I think my advice, Ango, is please, Dapota, keep your visas at all costs. Do everything that you need to do to make sure that you stay lawful in this country. Okay, so Stuart, thank you that. Yeah, so this person is actually illegal. They won't send them a curtailment letter if there's less than 60 days. So this person's visa, if I hope they submitted an application before, but tell them to get advice really quickly for their situation. Thank you so much. I'm going to answer the last question here, which is my daughter's dependent visa was denied. Can she apply for a skilled worker visa? Yeah, if she's over 18, she can apply for a skilled worker visa. That's fine, and she can do it straight away. There's no like time frame within which. Yeah. Okay, no, that's good. I think that's in the tower. I've talked a lot about a lot of things, and answered a few questions, and hopefully that's been helpful. I'm going to jump off now. I'm gonna answer Beulah's. I'm sorry, Beulah, that I had missed yours. You said ko unobvumidzwa here kushanda more than 20 hours outside your course kana employer wako asina hours. Beulah, no, awubvumidzwi. So if you work more than 20 hours, even if your employer doesn't have hours, it's illegal for you to do that. It's not lawful. Saka zvinogona kuaffecta paunenge wakuzoapply for a switch. So we've had to deal with some cases where people had found a switch and applied for a visa, but then they said you breached the conditions of your leave to remain because you worked more than the hours, because you would have sent maybe a pay slip or sent my bank statements, or it will even reflect inland revenue tax office. So if you work more than 20 hours, it's a breach of your conditions, and it can lead to you getting, and when you do find the right job, unogona kurambirwa. Sometimes it can end up when you're applying for indefinite, it can even come back to you then. So sometimes it can also affect the person who's employing you. So the employer themselves have to check what are you allowed to do. So if your employer takes you for 30 hours, but they see when they do your right to work checks, they actually see you're only supposed to do 20 hours. Even foot one gonna be in trouble. So we've seen employers getting fined for that. And getting into problems because of that, because they've taken people for more than 20 hours. So it can affect both parties. So the Home Office expects the employers not to get to work more than 20 hours. So again, look for a switch as much as you can, please. And when you're looking for a switch, one thing I was saying to someone is, when you come to England, you arrive in a certain area or a certain location, but you're not glued to that area. It's not where you're supposed to stay forever. Look everywhere, all over, from down south up to as far up north as you can. Just look for wherever you can get work, which is secure, where you are being paid. And you may have some hardship, you don't have accommodation, but ask for accommodation, ask on groups, to say, I found a job, I need to go. There's so many people who are so willing to help, but you ask. And I think we shouldn't have newbies, nema oldies, because there's some people who are newbies who don't like to hear anything from us. Ma asylum seeker, mimi mema 20 years, chichi. But people can help each other. I've seen some people who've been here for years, and looking after them, giving them food, giving them stuff for winter, helping each other. And there's so many people who are willing to help, but it's important to reach out. So if you get a job somewhere else, find out, use social media for your good. Are there people who live there? Does anyone know where I can get a room? Because I found a place to work which is far from where I am currently. Don't be afraid. Just get anywhere and then look for what you need to be able to do that. So instead of breaching your conditions because your employer hasn't got hours and you're staying in a particular area, it's better for you to look for a job kunenge kunema hours acho, and just find it wherever it is. even if it's Wales, even if it's Scotland, wherever, as long as it's in. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, my network has been dropping on and off today. So I will yeah, I'll see you probably next week or the week after. Send any questions to referrals@tulia.co.uk or info@tulia, and then we can definitely answer them on here for you. Have a wonderful day and be blessed. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Oh, and those in Milton Keynes, today there's a conference called Understanding Money. I'm going to share the link. If you haven't booked, you can still book. We'll be there today in the evening. So come and join us. And then tomorrow, the whole day, it's starting today at 1. It's called Understanding Money Conference. I'm going to share, I think I've shared the flyer before, but I'm going to share another one for those people who want to understand more about money. All right. Be blessed. Take care. Bye-bye.